But the opposition to secular values is so big, so that whatever we do, it has an impact. So, and that is why we are very glad to be here and meet you, and also get your experience about your activities in your countries. And hopefully for the afternoon session we can have the chance to engage on the topic of religion, in financing religion in public schools. And I count on your support. Thank you very much.
The Romanian wants to be full member, and the second group is the Southwest London Humanist group, and they are part of the British Humanist Association. It's
about the cases he's brought. If you talk to the Norwegians about the biased education that Norway was offering one time, the Bulgaria case, you'll find a lot of help there. And you may be able to use that for campaigning, which probably won't want to take a case for campaigning.
Thank you very much, and sorry for... Thank you.
And 7 if you are
Okay, yes, so I will try to be very brief. In fact, this is a kind of asking for your help and your support and your ideas. In very short, here is the situation. In the country, religion, in Romania, religion is actually learned in schools from the first grade until the last grade of the high school. So it's beside the Romanian language and I think mathematics, this is the only subject matter that actually spans throughout the curriculum. The enrollment is opt-out. So actually everyone is set to participate in religious teachings, actually being enrolled for the Christian Orthodox denomination, unless they actually choose to withdraw their kids. Financing is done entirely by the state, but the textbooks are controlled by church, and the teachers are also controlled by church. Moreover, the textbooks are extremely outdated, and they actually contain storytelling that are horrific. It's like, for instance, one of the cases was, if there is a drought, list which are the possible causes. And the correct cause was people didn't pray enough. So this is what they actually are taught in the Romanian religion classes. So obviously this is a problem of great concern for us, and we have managed to run several campaigns with, unfortunately, very limited effect on politicians. We have raised awareness among public, but so far the church is too powerful to actually allow us any inroads into politicians. So I have 2 questions for you. Is any of the countries ever faced a kind of a similar situation in which the teaching of confessional religion has been actually done and financed by state and controlled by church? Yes? Okay, and the other question is, what advice would you give us? What kind of support, either from the member states and from the European Hymanist Federation? How can the Romanian kids be better supported, either by advice like institutional support, like maybe pleas to the European Commission? What can we do in addition to just protesting and try to present our case?
Question.
First of all, what kind of law doesn't enforce the religious teaching? Because in Italy we have the Concordat, and it's kind of impossible to change that. What's your case?
In Romania is the law of education, actually, the national law of education that provides how is this happening? The Constitution just it stipulates that the state allows religious education in schools, but it doesn't say what kind of, what is the financing and so on.
Just a few words about this subject. When in 2010... When in 2010 the Parliament was discussing the new education law, there were a lot of interest on the subject of teaching religion in schools. And it was quite surprising that the government came with a version very nice from our point of view, because although it acknowledged the right of the church to teach in schools, came with a provision that if parents were requesting it, the regular religious course could have been replaced by a course in the history of religions. But unfortunately, the Patriarch of the Orthodox Church immediately sent a very strong worded letter to the Parliament, and this provision was dropped. More important, an attempt was done to cut one important part of the provision from the law. The provision read that children were entitled to religious education according to their own beliefs. This part was about to be dropped, and we have done a lot of lobbying to get this part back in the law in order to permit parents a certain degree of decision in the curriculum. Thank you.
Yes. 2 minutes and after that, check.
Well, I'd like to say that in Poland we have exactly the same situation, except that religion classes or instruction was introduced illegally by the government in the early 1990s. And so I can watch the consequences after many years. You will see later that the consequences are very confused, mixed, and so on. But one of the observations I've made is actually the question, or a question, whether it is good or bad for us. Because this religion in schools has become really probably the main generator of non-believers, or at least people who treat religion very instrumentally. And actually the church helps it, because if you go to religious classes, you can increase your average grade in school, because it's very easy to get the best. It's just enough to go there, to be there. So people go there, rarely staying, and only to improve their average grade, which is maybe not very humanistic what I'm speaking about now. But there is this question still.
Sorry, we have 10 minutes for each topic, so that if you are called for, I cannot manage the meeting. We will be here at 7 o'clock. Here. When I ask the floor. So short, please.
I'm responsible for the humanist school education in Germany. I cannot give an advice to the Romanian group. I can only tell you about the two strategies we have in Europe. The one strategy is everything has to be out of school, religious, life science education. Many groups act in this way. The church said, so what? And they are in school. And in other countries, we ask for equal treatment. We are in school like the churches. We have humanist education, moral education, different names. And in these countries, I think we have more than 300,000 pupils in Europe in humanist courses. I prefer this way. Others prefer others. I think we don't agree on this topic in the next 20 years.
I just want to very quickly treat the question about whether or not it matters as a serious question rather than an amusing one for the moment, because some people do sometimes put this forward as a serious argument, you know, well, there's religious instruction in schools, but actually the effect of it is to put children off religion and for the rest of their lives they'll become humanists. Well, I think there's something in that, but I also think it's not just a question of what effect religious confessional education has, but what it denies children, which could be better in its place. Because I think if you're having a syllabus of confessional religious instruction of any sort, in a crowded timetable in any school, what you're often preferring that to, and therefore missing out on, is a moral or ethical education that would serve, you know, all children as they grow and develop. And if there was any advice that, you know, I could give to Romanians from the British context, it would be to, if you can't get rid of the religious instruction straight away, or at the same time as you're trying to get rid of it, also push for a sort of ethical education, a sort of moral education, a sort of personal and social education in all schools for all pupils, which will at the same time give them an option. But as Werner said, in fact, this is a policy area that's treated completely differently from one country to another in Europe and from one humanist organisation to another. But there used to be quite a good section on the EHF website about the different approaches in different countries, and so I think you could probably also look there for quite a lot of useful material.
The European Convention on Human Rights, the Strasbourg Court is increasingly moving towards a duty of states to be secular, not to favour any particular religion.